Blue Sky is kind of the odd one out in terms of animated movie studios, as despite their competition having several big names under their belt, Blue Sky failed to build up a sizable hall of fame before their demise. The omnipotent Pixar had Toy Story, Monsters Inc., The Incredibles, and Wall-E. The mighty DreamWorks has Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, Madagascar, and Megamind. Even Illumination, despite being far inferior in terms of their track record, constantly produces hit after hit. What does Blue Sky have besides an army of Ice Age sequels? It's always good to try new things, that's how we got the heavy hitter franchises elsewhere in the animation field. However, Blue Sky just wasn't as fortunate as their peers and most of their catalog failed to catch on. I've heard amazing things about the Peanuts movie, but who the hell remembers Epic, or Ferdinand, or Spies in Disguise?
Hey, it's okay, don't you worry, your good friend Walter is—
Hell, Rio was one of the only non-Ice Age films to actually perform all that well at the box office, and it even got a sequel. However, one of their films has stuck with me ever since childhood, their second feature film, Robots. It's a film about a young adult with dreams of becoming a talented inventor, finally making his way to the gates of the company started by the man who inspired him, only to find out his childhood role model is MIA, while the current guy in charge is a corporate asshole whose sole goal is to nickel and dime consumers with expensive upgrades, and discontinuing the spare parts they rely on to even live. It's an interesting scenario considering the time this film was made, because this was when animated films weren't afraid to punch you in the gut and give you a cynical reminder of the world we live in. No matter how uplifting and inspiring a famous celebrity might appear on TV, there's always a chance that there's something hiding behind the veil of the media. You can practice and polish all your life, but no matter how much you perfect a passion project you deeply care about, society will kick you to the curb and call you a worthless failure for making one single mistake on the first go. You can leave town with expectations of meeting the man who made you decide your occupation, but eventually wind up in the trash before befriending a group of hobos falling apart at the seams. I can see this movie really sticking with a lot of people for providing such a relatable situation. The movie's certainly not perfect, as the pacing is a little strange, there's several aspects completely glossed over, and the timing of certain jokes can crumble a serious scene.
I'm a little tired. Maybe tomorrow. Dad's probably sitting by the phone waiting for his brilliant son to call and tell him what a big success my first day was. No, it's not your problem. If you burden your friends, soon you won't have any.
A few moments later.
This is definitely a kid's film, there's no getting around that. Despite its flaws and slight immaturity, Robots still has a nostalgic place in my heart. It also has Big Weld. Enough said. Now, since this was an animated movie in the 2000s, video game tie-ins were sure to follow, like flies on a dog turd in the sun. Now, if you're curious, Robots actually did get a real video game developed for 6th generation consoles and PC, but we're not going to be looking at that today. What we're looking at today is actually Xbox exclusive. But before we get into it, we'll have to talk about this. No, not the movie itself, just the DVD release. This has consistently been one of my favorite DVDs since childhood. It's basically got everything you'd want if you're 7 years old. A lot of really fun and interesting menus harkening back to the film, and a treasure trove of extras. I'm talking featurettes, deleted scenes, an exclusive short, activities and games, character bios, a close-up of Big Weld's asshole, a jukebox with a dancing robot, the list goes on. I'll never forget this thing booting up with that infamous anti-piracy you wouldn't download a car commercial that ironically stole its own music. Yeah, let's make this cringy music video where no law enforcement is present while comparing internet downloading to card theft. That'll stop them. Regardless, this is a pristine example of a DVD release pushing the technology to its fullest potential. Keep in mind, this was 2005, when the VHS format was basically on its deathbed here in North America. DVDs have been hot on the market for years at this point, and it's not hard to see why. Despite all its technical advantages and long lifespans compared to these old smelly tapes, the interactive menus and laundry list of bonus content is really what roped people in. All this tacky crap might seem unimpressive by today's standards, but for the time it was awesome. And growing up with this stuff really rubs in the state of physical media today, where all you get is maybe a few interviews and trailers as extras. Don't get me wrong, they're nice to have, and I love owning my movies in uncompressed HD quality with Blu-rays, but I can't excuse the objective downgrades in the overall presentation of modern releases. Menus went from elaborate looping shots referencing events of the film to a JPEG of the poster with all the options at the bottom, maybe some movie clips playing with some music. It's even gotten so bad to the point where some movies don't even bother giving you a menu at all. However, Blu-ray releases of films previously on DVD really show how companies stopped caring, and one of the biggest examples is the Blu-ray release of Robots. The menu is boring, and the vast majority of the extras from the DVD are completely gone, with only the deleted scenes, a new music video, and interviews staying, with some of the remaining bonus content stuck in standard definition on a fucking Blu-ray. If you're gonna gut most of the content, at least bother re-rendering what's left so it doesn't feel out of place. If these can stay in 480p, bring over the rest of the extras. Pretty much the only advantage of having this shit on Blu-ray is the film being in 1080p, which, don't get me wrong, is nice, and the film's art style really holds up in a higher resolution. But even the subtitles are completely botched here, with certain words being flat out wrong, like the guy in charge of writing them didn't have a copy of the script and had serious hearing problems. That and Aunt Fanny was typed out as Aunt Fan. The fucking rapture is upon us and all hope is lost. It's honestly crazy how that HD format war that happened in the late 2000s ended with Blu-ray as the victor and really nothing to show for it. This 50GB state-of-the-art disc just got its 1080p ass handed to it by 480p grandpa. Keep in mind, the DVD release had all of this content on a single one-layered DVD. That's nuts! I can understand a few of the extras not making it to the Blu-ray due to rights issues, but what was preventing the exclusive short and the original animation test from making the cut? But yeah, despite me being a snob for picture quality, which is why I buy Blu-rays over streaming my movies to begin with, Robots is one of the few exceptions of me preferring the old release because of how you really got your money's worth, especially today if you find a copy of this used. However, one of the extras that I didn't mention yet is the one where I can completely understand it not making the cut to Blu-ray. An exclusive Xbox game.
Play against your friends in the exclusive Robots Xbox video game demo. Insert this disc into an Xbox video game system to play.
I never had an original Xbox as a kid, so I completely missed out on this feature of the DVD. It's kind of bizarre how they would specifically go with the Xbox as their console of choice for this demo, as the PlayStation 2 was the only console that could even play DVDs out of the box. Xbox required you to buy an add-on due to Sony apparently having a patent, and the GameCube couldn't do it at all. So I'd imagine this extra certainly had a small audience of people who could actually experience it, since I'm not entirely sure how much the audiences of Robots fans and Xbox owners really overlapped. Regardless, here we are today. I've owned an Xbox for a few years now, and I finally got another copy of the Robots DVD after living in disappointment with the supposedly superior Blu-ray release. It's time to finally uncover this mysterious extra that's taunted me for almost 2 decades. I'm getting a little nervous here, but you know what they say, you only live once. So play the Robots DVD Xbox demo. So interestingly enough, this thing was excreted to us by none other than Eurocom, who also made the best James Bond game that isn't GoldenEye, as well as Crash Bash. They're the guys who actually made the dedicated Robots tie-in game, so it's not too surprising to see their name here as well. Isn't that an exciting title screen? They couldn't even bother to give this demo a unique name. It's at least nice of them to give you the option to go directly back to the DVD itself. Imagine some Xbox kid getting this DVD without prior knowledge of this demo, excited to watch Robots, only to be greeted with this. You've got 6 playable characters at your disposal, and I was pretty disappointed by noticing Bigwell isn't playable, so I'm going with Ratchet. You get only 2 stages to select, which is not too surprising because this was clearly called a demo in the DVD extras, and I'm certainly not complaining because that means I have less footage to record. First things first, this is a racing game inspired by the weird sphere vehicle things in the film. Not a bad idea on paper, but I'm gonna cut the bullshit because wow, this sucks. The controls are the first major obstacle to overcome. Every single racing game you can think of off the top of your head has steering and acceleration separated, so you can actually focus on maneuvering the track while the act of moving forward is second nature. This unholy thing, on the other hand, thought it would be a smart idea to map acceleration to up on the analog stick. Lovely design there, guys. There's scrap metal to pick up, which I'm going to assume contributes to your speed like the coins in Mario Kart, but I haven't noticed a difference when actually going after them. Power-ups are laid across the track, but they're pretty unhelpful against the other racers. Speaking of which, this game clearly shows its Eurocom blood harkening back to Crash Bash since the AI is so transparently unfair. I can't even win a single race, and the closest I've gotten ended in Lug stealing my victory at the last second. Go to hell, you walking trash compactor that contributes nothing to the plot. There's alternate paths you can take for more height, but they really don't do much in terms of getting you ahead of the other racers. And even when you try your hardest to jump onto the path, the game just likes to push you out for no reason whenever it feels like it. The visuals aren't interesting, the sound design is bland with them not even bothering to include recycled voice clips for the characters, and it plays like trash. Now before you jump into the comments, I am fully aware that the standalone Robots game features ball rolling levels, and it looks very similar to this demo judging by footage I've seen online. However, I don't know if it supports multiplayer or it's more polished. Turns out Kid Me was not missing out on anything. For a free game bundled in with a DVD of a movie, be honest, were you really expecting much? Blatant thrashing aside, I still think it's genuinely cool that they went out of their way to include this in the disc, even with the countless other extras. You really got your money's worth when you bought this DVD. Keep in mind, this is not a double disc release or even a double-sided disc. Everything I mentioned that was included is all on the same disc as the full-length movie, all on a format that averaged about 7 GB maximum capacity. Compare that to modern video games sold for $70 that have about the same amount of content as the game on this disc and take up over 100 GB on your hard drive. This really is a relic of a bygone era. both in terms of effort put in and how insane the concept is. Really, who at the studio creating this DVD thought of including a fecal racing game alongside the dump truck load of extras for a movie about capitalist oppression which quickly spirals into uncovering a corporate conspiracy to eliminate the lower class by pricing them out of the market and discontinuing products they need to live, and if you don't buy the new products, they're going to fucking kill you, starring Obi-Wan!
Hello there.
This is honestly something I can appreciate, even if the game itself is kind of terrible. Old school physical media releases are such a treasure trove of random trinkets that serve zero purpose nowadays, but that's kind of why I love them. I'm certainly open to covering other DVD, VHS, and even Blu-ray oddities on this channel sometime in the future, as this stuff is just really fascinating to me. It was always so fun digging through a DVD's menus and finding this crap as a kid, and as an adult it's such a bizarre experience. They certainly don't make them how they used to.